My family mocked my startup until it was valued at $15 M. I was sitting in my cramped studio apartment, staring at my laptop screen at 3 a.m. when the notification popped up. Another rejection email from yet another investor. My eyes burned from the blue light, and my back ached from hunching over this same desk for months. The coffee mug beside me had grown cold hours ago, leaving a bitter ring on the wooden surface. This was my reality for the past 8 months, since I'd quit my stable job to chase what everyone called a pipe dream. The idea had come to me during a particularly frustrating experience, trying to coordinate a group vacation with my college friends. We were scattered across different messaging apps, email threads, and shared documents, constantly losing track of who was responsible for what. I spent 3 days just trying to figure out who had booked the rental car, and whether someone had actually reserved the restaurant we all wanted to try. That's when it hit me, there had to be a better way to manage group activities and shared responsibilities. I started building the app in my spare time, working nights and weekends while maintaining my regular job. The initial version was clunky and basic, but it solved the core problem. Users could create groups, assign tasks, track expenses, and communicate all in one place. I tested it with my friend group and they loved it. Encouraged by their enthusiasm, I decided to take the leap and focus on it full time. The first few months were brutal. I burned through my savings quickly, living off ramen noodles and whatever was on sale at the discount grocery store. My landlord started leaving increasingly urgent voicemails about late rent payments. I had to sell my car and rely on public transportation, which meant adding an extra hour to any trip across town. The stress was eating away at me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was onto something big. My family's reaction was exactly what I'd expected, but it still stung every time. During our weekly family dinner, my father would ask about my job search with that particular tone that suggested he thought I was wasting my life. My mother would slip me $20 bills when she thought no one was looking, the kind of gesture that made me feel like a charity case. My younger brother, who worked at a bank, would make comments about financial responsibility and the importance of steady income. The worst part was the family group chat. Every few days, someone would share an article about failed startups or the dangers of entrepreneurship. My aunt would send screenshots of job postings that she thought might interest me, always with messages like, just in case you want to consider something more stable. My uncle, who'd worked the same job for 30 years, would lecture me about the value of loyalty and consistent paychecks whenever we crossed paths at family gatherings. I started dreading family events. Birthday parties became interrogations about my progress. Holiday dinners turned into intervention sessions where everyone took turns expressing their concerns about my chosen path. My cousin, who'd just gotten promoted at her corporate job, would talk loudly about her benefits package and retirement contributions, shooting meaningful glances in my direction. The constant questioning and barely concealed disappointment made me want to retreat entirely from family interactions. But I pressed on, driven by a combination of stubborn pride and genuine belief in what I was building. I refined the app based on user feedback, adding features like budget tracking, photo sharing, and integration with popular calendar apps. The user base grew slowly but steadily, mostly through word-of-mouth recommendations. I handled customer service emails personally, often responding within minutes because I was always at my computer anyway. The breakthrough came when a popular lifestyle blogger discovered the app and wrote a detailed review about how it had revolutionized her book club's organization. Her post went viral on social media, and suddenly my user registration numbers spiked dramatically. The servers crashed twice that week because I hadn't anticipated the sudden influx of traffic. I spent 72 hours straight working with my hosting provider to scale up the infrastructure, surviving on energy drinks and determination. Media attention followed quickly after that. A tech journalist reached out for an interview, which led to coverage in several industry publications. The app started appearing on lists of must-have productivity tools, and user reviews were overwhelmingly positive. People weren't just using it for vacation planning anymore. They were organizing everything from wedding preparations to neighborhood community gardens to small business project management. Then came the investors. The same people who'd ignored my cold emails months earlier were suddenly returning my calls. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I tried to focus on finding the right partner rather than dwelling on their previous disinterest. I had multiple meetings per week, each one requiring me to pitch my vision and defend my business model to rooms full of suits who asked the same questions over and over. My family's attitude during this period was fascinating to observe. They went from outright skepticism to cautious curiosity almost overnight. My mother started asking more detailed questions about how the app worked, and my father began mentioning my project to his friends with what sounded like actual pride. My brother, who'd been the most vocal critic of my decision to quit my job, started sending me articles about successful entrepreneurs and asking if I needed help with anything. The family group chat transformed completely. Instead of job postings and warnings about startup failure rates, I was getting forwarded articles about the booming tech industry and success stories of other entrepreneurs. My aunt, who'd been so concerned about my financial stability, started bragging to her friends about her nephew's innovative app. My uncle asked if I could help him organize his fishing club's activities using my platform. But the real validation came when venture capital firms started reaching out with serious offers. I spent weeks in meetings with partners at prestigious firms, reviewing term sheets and negotiating valuations. The numbers being discussed were beyond anything I'd imagined when I was eating ramen noodles and avoiding my landlord's calls. Each meeting felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold rather than living my own. The due diligence process was exhausting but exhilarating. Teams of lawyers and accountants pored over every aspect of my business, from user growth metrics to intellectual property protections. I had to provide detailed explanations of my revenue model, growth projections, and competitive advantages. The scrutiny was intense, but it also validated that what I'd built had real value and potential. My family's transformation during this period was almost comical. The same people who'd been sending me job postings 6 months earlier were now asking if I could get them early access to investment opportunities. My cousin, who'd been so proud of her corporate benefits package, started talking about how she'd always admired entrepreneurs and risk-takers. My uncle began telling everyone about his nephew's startup, usually exaggerating the details in ways that made me cringe. The most challenging part wasn't the negotiations or the media attention. It was managing my own expectations and emotions. I'd gone from being treated like a family disappointment to being viewed as some kind of visionary genius, and neither extreme felt accurate. I was still the same person who'd struggled to pay rent and lived off cheap pasta for months. The success felt real but also fragile, like it could disappear as quickly as it had arrived. When the acquisition offers started coming in, I knew I'd reached a turning point. Major tech companies were expressing interest in purchasing the app, with valuations that made my head spin. I hired a lawyer to help navigate the complex negotiations and spent countless hours weighing the pros and cons of different offers. The decision would determine not just my financial future, but the future of something I'd poured my heart and soul into creating. The final offer came from a company whose products I'd been using for years. They understood my vision and had concrete plans for scaling the app to reach millions of users worldwide. The valuation was $15 million, a number that seemed impossible when I was sitting in my studio apartment reading rejection emails just 18 months earlier. I accepted their offer on a Tuesday morning, signing the papers in a conference room overlooking the city skyline. My family's reaction to the news was everything I'd hoped for and more. My father, who'd questioned my decision to leave stable employment, called me 3 times that day just to tell me how proud he was. My mother cried when I told her, and for the first time in months, they were tears of joy rather than worry. My brother, the banking professional who'd lectured me about financial responsibility, asked for advice about his own entrepreneurial ideas. The family group chat exploded with congratulations and celebration messages. My aunt, who'd been so concerned about my lack of steady income, posted a lengthy message about how she'd always believed in my vision and knew I'd succeed. My uncle, who'd valued loyalty and consistent paychecks above all else, started telling everyone about the importance of taking calculated risks and following your dreams. But the most meaningful moment came during our next family dinner. Instead of questions about job searches or concerns about my financial stability, the conversation centered around my plans for the future and what I'd learned from the experience. My younger cousin, who was just starting college, asked detailed questions about entrepreneurship and whether I thought she should consider starting her own business someday. Looking back, I realized that my family's initial skepticism wasn't malicious or unsupportive. It came from a place of genuine concern and love. They'd watched me leave security behind to chase something uncertain, and their doubts reflected their fear that I might fail and get hurt. Their transformation from skeptics to supporters paralleled my own journey from desperate dreamer to successful entrepreneur. The experience taught me that success isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving to yourself that your vision and determination can overcome doubt and uncertainty. My family's mockery motivated me initially, but their eventual pride and support meant more than any financial milestone. The $15 million valuation was validation of my business model, but their changed attitude was validation of my character and perseverance. Now, as I work on my next project, I carry with me the lessons learned from those difficult months of family dinners and group chat interventions. I understand that skepticism and support can coexist, and that the people who question your dreams might also be the ones who celebrate your success most enthusiastically. The path from mocked family member to successful entrepreneur isn't just about building a valuable company. It's about building the confidence to pursue your vision despite the doubts of others. The app continues to thrive under its new ownership, reaching users around the world and solving the same coordination problems that inspired its creation. My family now uses it to organize our own gatherings, and every notification reminds me of the journey from that cramped studio apartment to this moment of vindication. The mockery turned to celebration, the rejection turned to acceptance, and the dream turned to reality in ways I never could have imagined when I was just a guy with an idea and a laptop.